2018 is when we first got a look at the e-tron, and back then it was called the e-tron and it was kept distinct and separate as Audi's first electric presentation. 2022, things have moved on a little bit and now they're fully integrating it into the family. So what you're looking at here for the first time is the Q8 e-tron. So a little taste of what the future has to offer. We've got two cars to take a closer look at today. The S model over here in the Sportback version and the S line over here as an SUV. Now, since 2019, Audi have delivered 150,000 units of this car. So needless to say, they're more than a little bit interested in just what you will think about what they've done to it. So the revisions that have taken place on this car are not just stylistic, but they do have an impact in terms of how you will use this car and your relationship to it. Gone are the big standard Audi rings. As you can see here, what you're looking at are grey on black. They say that they're not going to be doing chrome rings anymore because chrome as a material is not sustainable, and therefore because of that you will be able to choose between either getting this grey, which is almost a black on black effect, or white, which presents a little bit as a floating design. Now, one of the first new additions, which I think is absolutely fantastic, is this light bar that goes across the front, really tying in these headlights. It not only does that, but it also accentuates the top of the bumps of the Audi rings themselves. Now, if you're asking if that comes standard, it doesn't, but happily the additional cost should be less than €400. So really not a huge amount of money combined with the overall cost of the car. A little bit later on, we're going to go into a light tunnel to show you how well that design actually works in the dark. The two things that they got from their customers in terms of feedback that were really necessary were, of course, improving the efficiency of the vehicle. They've managed to do that both with the redesigned battery approach, but also the aerodynamics of the vehicle itself. So that's going to have a big effect on the design. The way that the air moves through the vehicle has actually been changed both at the front here. If you get lower, you can't really see exactly how the air interacts with the vehicle, but you can see that it has changed. That follows through here to the side, where these air intakes go straight through to the wheels themselves to change the way that the air moves throughout the vehicle. That drops the aerodynamic coefficient, which means, long story short, you're going to be able to get more miles for the same amount of power. What that does to the design is it presents them with an opportunity to make the car look a little bit more sleek and dynamic. So the new front of this vehicle is all about reinforcing that idea. As you can see, you can now get the grille in a body match color, which really does help reduce, I would say, the overstatement of the front. That combined with this single frame design that goes right around the headlines and that unifying light really gives you a very satisfactory overall sleek feel to the front of this car now. What do you think? 4 meters 91 or 193 inches in length. Nothing has fundamentally changed with the dimensions of this car, but as you can see, even from a first glance, the design language here has changed again. This is now going to be standard, if Cornelius can come in. Black lettering for the side here, just telling us that we have an e-tron. There are 5 new designs of wheels. These ones are not one of the new designs, although we will show you those in a little bit. They just look so great, these wheels, and if it ain't broken, don't fix it. 19 to 22 inches available. Now clearly, as an electric car buyer, you're going to have a direct choice to make. Do you want the most air efficient and therefore increase your range, or do you want the best looking? I've got to be honest, I'm all about efficiency, but come on, that is some really nice bit of wheel design going on there. This is what really fascinates me. Now, this isn't a new idea, and regular viewers, or owners in fact, of this car's predecessor will be familiar with this as a concept at least. It is the digital rear view mirrors that you get on both sides of the car, and 20% of sales of this vehicle have gone with this digital feature here. And bearing in mind that the only market that legally permits this is Europe, so you can't get these in America, that means that a lot of Q8 customers think that this is a really good proposition. I spoke earlier to an owner and asked, well, you've actually had these things, do you actually think that they're of benefit? And he really thought that they were. He actually thinks they do take a bit of adjustment and getting used to, but once you've done that, they're a really great feature. So if you've got them and you like them, I really would like to hear about it, because I'm still not 100% convinced. But from a design aesthetic, it really does look rather nice. Now, as we come down the side of this vehicle, you can see another new Audi feature that they're introducing. They are trying to simplify everything, but they think that you, the car owner, really take pleasure in knowing what it is you spent your money on. So this, the name Audi and the detail of the car, is laser etched into the B pillar on all of the Q8s, and I think you're going to see that feature consistent right throughout the brand lineup. Well, this in many ways is one of the biggest changes of the design. Here you can see the new design language really going to town. As you can see, all previous Audi iterations of here's 100 things that you don't quite understand about the car, which are usually written all over the rear, gone. Now just a simple state of which family this Audi belongs to. And again, as with the front, those Audi rings are either going to come grey on black or white on black. Gone is the chrome and gone is the overstatement. The same thing applies with the design right from top to bottom. It's simple and it's dynamic. This light strip really echoes that feeling at the front, and I'm really quite impressed with the way Audi have managed to integrate that into the front of the design, because I think this light bar going across the back is now a fairly common feature in a lot of cars. It looks great, but I haven't seen it as well pulled off in another car at the front as it's being done on this Q8. So hats off to Audi on that one. I also really like what they've done with the bottom third. Again, stylish, elegant, understated. Now, if you want an Audi, then you expect build quality, and I'm happy to tell you, listen to that. They certainly haven't skimped on the design. That looks and feels solid and heavy. Dynamica, now you might be familiar with that. It's a soft touch fabric. It feels very similar to other soft touch fabrics you might have come across. And when I encountered this, I was excited about it for two reasons. First of all, it features a fairly high component of recycled material. That's great. And secondly, I thought, oh, great. New seats, new steering wheel. Finally, we're catching up to the modern era, because as you can imagine, the marketing is all about how much recycled material has been used. But wait there. Come on, Audi. You still can't get the top line versions of this car in anything other than, wait for it, leather. They do want to tell you so much through their marketing that sustainability is key, but then they can't think of anything more imaginative to do with the top line than leather at this stage. They told me that they're still working on new and different and exciting steering wheels, and they're coming, but they don't have it quite right yet. I'm a bit confused about that. It's been years since I first touched an Alcantara steering wheel on a Porsche, which I thought was fantastic. And as we know that both brands are connected, it doesn't seem wildly optimistic that they might have at least phoned up Audi and said, hey, you could do it this way. But apparently that email never got through to where it needed to go, because it's still leather. Now, I get it, it's still popular. And it really wouldn't bother me that much if it weren't for quite how much of the marketing push and drive about these new vehicles is all focused on sustainability. So Audi, please, can we sort this out? Thank you. That aside, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. If you haven't had the chance to get into an e-tron and drive it round, then you are missing out on something. This is a very well put together cabin. It's very nicely tied in. These battery packs that you're currently looking at right here have been completely redesigned. So the two batteries on offer, they are now 89 and 104 kilowatt hours. So that's an increase of 18 kilowatt hours in the smaller battery and 9 in the larger. We're expecting that to result in around about 100 kilometer, 60 mile range increase. It's going to come with two electric motors, one front, one back, but as you can see here, this is a 3 electric motor variant. That is going to come on the top sporty models. Now we're going to take a look at the S model Sportback. And if you're immediately looking at this car and thinking, this is definitely distinct and different, but you can't quite put your finger on why, it's all about this. 20 millimeters additional width on both sides of this car. So it has a significantly more dynamic presence. Round at the side, and again, you can see a lot more visual presence. And that presents a little bit of a contradiction with the new styling, because again, everything throughout Audi's line is going to be very standardized. So this font in the matte presentation, you're going to be finding that on a lot more cars. But everything about the side of this vehicle says, look at me, from the 22-inch rims. And again, these are not new, but wow, what a lovely piece of wheel architecture. Not even slightly aerodynamic, but I promise you we will show you those new 5 rims. look as we come further back. This is now a big feature in electric car design, and the reason for that, it's called the rocker, is because what you now have in these cars that you never used to in car design is a massive floor that has to contain all of those electric batteries. So visually that presents not only a new challenge but also a new opportunity. And here Audi have made the most of that. So look at the way that sits on the road. This thing looks powerful without even moving an inch. You can't really look at the rear of this car without starting off here at the very last quarter of the side. Look at the way this light signature sweeps through into the back, and the line of the body comes really nicely through into this subtle spoiler at the rear. Everything about this car is one way or another shouting in a very elegant way, look at me. As with its SUV brother, there are two charge points on this car, one on the driver's side, one on the passenger's, but if you want fast charging, that's only ever going to be accessed from the driver's side, from 10% to 80% within 31 minutes, fast charging. That's a really important figure to know because it means that wherever you are, you can get back on the road and do a long drive with really a pretty short wait. I did promise you a look at those brand new rims, and as we are taking a very early sneak peek at the Q8 here, I think that these guys might not yet be finished with production, and that's why we can only show you a picture of them. But what I can say is, as part of the design language, they've attempted to make that color pop out. So even though these are aerodynamic designs, they're not presenting as flat discs. They give you something a little bit more emotive and emotional. This one is the one I'm most interested to take a look at. That looks really aggressive and black. I'm very excited to see what that looks like on the Sportsback. You can pick between the Advanced line, the S model, or of course, the S line. Audi have been kind enough to build us our very own light tunnel here at Cannes, so we can show you some of the features of the new lighting options on the Q8. Now, the first and most important of those that we want to bring your attention to is this light bar that we've told you all about. Look how beautifully that ties in the front of this car. It's really nicely executed, and in particular, the way it makes the raised sections of these rings lift, so you have the look and feel of Audi without ever needing to be able to see the logo itself, is a really clever piece of design. This first one is a feature that you may already recognize, and this is a lighting carpet. This shows you the direction that the road is taking. The data is taken from the car, from its radar. It indicates to the lights which way the road is turning, and then it moves the lights in order that you can see where you are headed to. The second feature are these car tracks right here you may be able to make out on the floor. Now these move separately. This is data that's achieved from your position of the steering. So this shows you the direction that you're heading in, which hopefully should be the same direction that the road goes. This is our first new feature to show you though, and this is the turning indicator. Now you can see when you're on a motorway and you want to leave a lane, you won't just get that indication on your dashboard, you'll also be able to see it in the lighting carpet here. So if the indicator goes on, you can see that is mirrored on the road itself. It just helps you to reinforce the general idea. Now we come to our next new feature, and this is a marking light. The infrared detectors that are built into the front of the Q8 look obviously for obstacles coming up, and when it detects that there is a human by the side of the road, possibly somebody not paying attention, a runner, a child, it flashes a light, which you should be able to see illuminating me directly. Thanks to Matrix LED, the only thing that can see that light on the road is me because I'm in its path. If I move even 1 foot over here, I cannot see it at all. So that's really handy. One last new feature to show you. We all know that when we're driving, especially at night, our attention should be on the road and only on the road. So we're used to the idea of head-up display, but you can now also display some of that information, driver warning signals and so forth, directly on the road in front of the car. I'm not quite sure if we're able to display that to you, but I think by now you get the general picture. The future for the e-tron looks pretty exciting, but is it going to be able to match up with the BMW iX or the Mercedes EQS SUV?